They're 60 minutes from a Super Bowl, folks.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy January 26th, everybody. Matt Derry with you. It is the Locked On Lions on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day on a Friday, January 26th and a Saturday, January 27th. Thanks for making us your first listen and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts as we talk Detroit Lions football. What a week we've had on the show. Tuesday, Mike Tirico. Wednesday, come on, Craig Reynolds. Yesterday, the crossover with Brian Peacock. If you missed any of those episodes, please go wherever you find your podcast. Go on YouTube. And watch, by the way, subscribe to our YouTube channel. I think we're at 10,000 followers. I got to double check. We were close. But thanks to all of you for that. Check us out. Thanks to our everydayers. I know there's so many of you I've promised to mention on the show. I just haven't had the time to make the list. But I appreciate all of you. Everybody overseas, everybody that's hit me up down in Texas and Virginia and out west. Thank you for checking us out wherever you get your podcasts and supporting this show. Coming up on the show today, we got to talk about Deebo Samuel. We got to talk about keys to the game. Dan Campbell spoke today. Lions have some award nominees, which they should. And we just got to get into the vibe and the feel for what this feels like as the Lions get ready to take on San Francisco Sunday night at 6:30 for a chance to go to the Gulp Super Bowl. Locked On Lions today brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Follow us on Twitter at Derry Speaks, at Locked On Lions, Matt Derry Facebook fan page, on Threads at The Real Matt Derry, where our guy Andy J is holding it down. And, of course, on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. Thanks to Scotty and the folks at Questionable Tees for the Lions sweatshirt today. They are everywhere. I've gotten numerous requests from others. Just understand, I have a 9-to-5 job too. I have a full-time job for two companies, as well as being a dad and a husband and everything else. And of course the podcast. So I'm not getting to you. I'm not returning stuff. I'm not getting back to you. Please. I owe a lot of people messages and everything else. I will return your texts, emails. I promise. All right, here we go. Sunday. This is it. Lions at Niners. Everybody's asking me, what do you think? How do you feel? I feel good. I feel good about the Lions. I said it yesterday on the podcast with Brian Peacock from Locked On Niners. I think the Lions are going to do it. I think the Lions are going to win a close game. I think the Lions can do it. All right. All the pressure is on San Francisco. Remember, this is now the fourth time in 5 years they've made it to the NFC Championship game. They need to get to the Super Bowl under Kyle Shanahan. They haven't done it. They have played good football. They've been the favorite the last couple of years and everything else. For some, of course, they were on the road against the Rams 2 years ago. They lost to Stafford. They were on the road in Philly last year. They lost to Jalen Hurts and, of course, had all the injuries at quarterback and had a third stringer out there. And then had, at times McCaffrey playing quarterback in the Wildcat. It's been a wild few years for San Francisco. John Lynch, their GM, Kyle Shanahan, their coach. They've done a fantastic job. But now their goal has been Super Bowl or bust. They are now the 1 seed. They're at home now. They're not playing on the road in the NFC Championship game. They're at home. And the pressure's on them. It's not on the Lions. All right? Yes, there's some people nationally picking Detroit. Yes, there's some people locally that think, why can't the Lions do this? Right? And Dan Campbell in his Friday press conference today was a little surly and agitated, but a good surly and agitated. Like he said today, there's a good stubbornness with Sheila Hamp. Dan was stubborn. He's ready to go. He and his team want to play this game right now. They're tired of waiting. Dan's asked about distractions and all the stuff out there and the talk. And he says, no, it's all you guys. We are focused. We are tunnel vision. We're just going to go play. Ken Brown from WJR asked him about, are you going to dial it back a little bit? Tell your guys not to get so jumpy and excited. And he said, no, There's no dialing anything back. We're going out there to play. We respect our opponent. We know they're good. We're going out there to play. The Lions feel like they can win. And I like that focus for Detroit. I like that chip on their shoulder. And again, if the Lions lose, which would be disappointing, we are all going to say the same thing, right? What a great season. What an unbelievable run. They won 2 playoff games. They'll be back. If you're the Niners and you lose, is Kyle Shanahan in trouble? If Brock Purdy plays a lousy game, do they look to replace a guy that is a finalist for the MVP award? Because he played lousy last week, and maybe the Niners feel like our best chance with this team, with Deebo and Kittle and McCaffrey and Armstead and Fred and Dre and all these guys, Bosa, is to go get a really good quarterback, somebody better than Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy could also light the Lions up on Sunday, and we all could be going, man, there's a reason why he was a top 5 for MVP. By the way, so is his teammate, Christian McCaffrey. The Lions are going to be facing 2 players that are on the MVP finalist list of 5. And the Lions have some finalists for awards we'll get into in a second. But I think the pressure is on the Niners. I think Lions fans are going out there to party. I think Lions fans are going out there to be loose and root for their team. I think Niner fans are going to be a little bit nervous. I think they're going to be tight. I think the Niner players might be a little bit tight. Because again, all the pressure is on them. The Lions hit you hard. The Lions are physical. So are the Niners. Don't get me wrong. Right? San Francisco likes to run the football. San Francisco hikes the ball. And you'll see this if you haven't watched the Niners this year. They hike the ball sometimes under center and pitch it right back to McCaffrey like it's 1950. It's not a wide pitch. It's right behind. They're like, we're pitching it to our running back, and you're not going to stop us. And Dan Campbell said it the other day. The Lions don't stop Christian McCaffrey in that run game early. It could be a long day. The Niners deploy a fullback in Kyle Juszczyk. He's awesome. They play an old school smash mouth brand just like the Lions do. But I just think there's something special with Detroit right now. There's something crazy in the air. I think you guys feel it with me. The Lions lose this game, which they could. Right? San Francisco's really good. They're a 1 seed for a reason. All right? They played poorly last Saturday and still won. But there's something about this Lions team. Sometimes you just go on magical runs. You just do. As a fan of the 2016 Cleveland Indians, all right? Now Cleveland Guardians, but at the time Indians. We went on a magical run. We lost in game 7 of the Cubs, but we weren't as good as the Blue Jays that we beat. We weren't as good as the Red Sox that we beat in the playoffs. We were probably just as good as the Cubs, but they had all these stars with Rizzo and Bryant and all of that. But they had 2 starting pitchers at the end. The Indians. It was Tomlin and it was Kluber, and that was it. Everybody else was hurt. Yet they somehow made it to game 7. I just feel like this Lions team, and Goff was kind of joking with Wojo about it the other day, but I think people feel like it's cute and it's a cute story. But the Lions do, like Goff said, Amon-Ra St. Brown was first team All-Pro. Penei Sewell was first team All-Pro. I know the Niners are chock full of stars, but I think the Lions are going to play well. I think they're going to be focused. We'll get into some keys coming up next as well on how the Lions can get it done. Plenty to do on this Friday edition of Locked On Lions, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And this episode of Locked On Lions is brought to you by BetterHelp. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off our chest, right? Big or small, certain things can really start to get to you. It's important to let that out, especially to someone who is unbiased on your life. So today I want to say how I really feel about something. You might even think about the same thing this week. Great. Who are you going to talk to? I suggest you check out BetterHelp. All right. BetterHelp is awesome. It's entirely online. It's therapy for you, and it's different for everybody. But if you have bigger problems than maybe your favorite sports team or anything else, it's important to get things off your chest every once in a while. And for some of you, right, like Nick, the guy I saw on Channel 4 the other day, it's going out to San Francisco because he's a Lions fan, because his dad passed away. There's something special about, that connection you have with your father and the team. And you want to talk about it with somebody, I suggest giving BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. And Matt Derry here to tell you about our friends at FanDuel. We are here into the playoffs. We got the big games on Sunday. AFC Championship with Ravens and Chiefs. NFC Championship with our beloved Detroit Lions and the San Francisco 49ers. You want to bet on the game. You want to do team totals. You want to do prop bets, whatever it is. Do it with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is easy to use. There's so many different ways to bet, like same game parlays. Find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub. Best way to find popular parlays, really, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. All right, Matt Derry back with you. It is a Friday edition of Locked On Lions. Thanks for making us your first listen and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. We, of course, we'll have a post-game pod coming up on Sunday following the Lions and Niners game in the NFC Championship. If the Lions somehow win this thing, I'm watching all this stuff. I'm watching the trophy presentation and all that. So it's not going to be right after the game, but you get the drift on that. All right, I mentioned this before. The Lions got some national pub and recognition yesterday with the awards from the Associated Press. Coach of the Year is down to 5 candidates. John Harbaugh of the Ravens, the Texans' DeMeco Ryans, Kyle Shanahan of the Niners, the Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski, and of course, Lions head coach Dan Campbell. A lot of good candidates this year. A lot of good candidates. I mean, DeMeco Ryans, the Houston Texans, nobody expected them to make the playoffs, let alone win a playoff game. Kevin Stefanski with the Browns went through about 50 quarterbacks and then ended up playing a 40-year-old as the 4th or 5th guy in Joe Flacco. Stefanski was awesome. Harbaugh and Shanahan, 1 seeds. What can you say? But Dan Campbell, to me, I think deserves it as much as anybody. So that's going to be great. Dan Campbell at the award show and up for Coach of the Year in the NFL. And there's a lot of good candidates too. Sean McVay, for what he did with the Rams, deserves it. Deserves some pub. Zach Taylor with the Bengals. They were dead without Joe Burrow. A lot of, Tomlin did a pretty good job in Pittsburgh this year with no quarterback. A lot of good candidates there, but Dan Campbell up for the award. Assistant Coach of the Year award. Jim Schwartz, Jimmy Handshake, our old buddy with the Browns. Titans OC Bobby Slowick, Ravens OC Todd Monken, Ravens defensive coordinator Mike McDonald, of course, Jim Harbaugh's former DC with Michigan, and Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. I'm a little bit surprised Brian Flores of the Vikings didn't make this list because he did a great job. But Ben Johnson, Lions OC, up for Assistant Coach of the Year. Many of you are saying, oh, this is great. Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn are coming back next year. Hold your horses. 2 more openings still haven't been filled yet. Commanders and Seahawks. I think Ben Johnson's going to get that Washington job. I do. I think Ben Johnson's going to be the Commanders head coach. They're waiting for a reason. But up for Assistant Coach of the Year, he deserves it. Lions offense has been top 5 again this year. He's a mastermind. He's a magician. Makes great calls. Has helped turn Jared Goff into a splendid and fantastic quarterback. I can't believe I just said splendid. It sounds like Lynn Henning. But he's up for the Assistant Coach of the Year award. Well deserved. And then 2 other Lions are AP award finalists. Offensive Rookie of the Year. You got Ravens wideout Puka Nacua, who would probably win it. Texans quarterback CJ Stroud. Maybe he's going to win it. Puka Nacua would run away with it if it wasn't for Stroud. Maybe Stroud's the guy. Bijan Robinson of the Falcons. And then 2 Lions. Sam Laporta, of course, record-breaking tight end, and running back Ja Gibbs. Pretty sweet. Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta have just been godsends for this team. That's going to be tough to win for those guys, I think it'll be CJ Stroud. But regardless, 2 Lions make offensive rookie of the year. Shout out to Brad Holmes, who is executive of the year, by the way. That was already determined by the Pro Football Writers Association. Also well-deserved. Come on. Brad Holmes' draft this year was amazing. But the award show is on CBS and NFL Network on February 8th at 9 o'clock. So check that out. Dan Campbell, Ben Johnson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, all up for awards. That is extremely, extremely well-deserved. How about last night at the Red Wings game? Did anybody hear this? I'm sure you all have, and you've seen it on social media. Jared Goff chant at the Red Wing game last night down at LCA. Now, right now, Red Wing fans, I mean, there's diehards. Pistons fans, there's diehards, but everybody's focus is on the Lions. So, but what a testament to Goff that Red Wing fans, and we know this, like, I remember back in the old days when I was working at DFN and stuff, you'd get it, you'd talk to like the puck bunnies and the hockey nistas, and they hated the Pistons. Like Red Wing fans used to root against the Pistons. Pistons fans up at the Palace used to scoff at hockey talk. Like they just wanted basketball talk. It was really divided. Now it's not as much because they share a building. Well, the Pistons are renters, but you know what I mean. Anyway, last night at the Wings game, the Jared Goff chant was being chanted at a Wings game. That's just awesome. I mean, he has taken this town by storm. Everybody knows the most popular sports figure in Detroit is probably Dan Campbell. Right now that Miguel Cabrera is retired, finally, Dan Campbell is the guy. But Jared Goff now has become a close second. I mean, everybody's rallying around him. He's almost that underdog story that, and I know he was the first overall pick and everything else, but still, like, he's an underdog story here because the Rams didn't want him, kind of just flipped him off to the Lions and sent him here in the Stafford trade, and he's been awesome. So I think that is so cool that Jared Goff got that kind of love last night at the game. So that's pretty sweet. And there'll be more of those chants in San Francisco, his hometown, this weekend when the Lions head to Santa Clara, I should say, to face the 49ers. Goff, of course, played high school football out there, played at Cal. So he'll be heading home. That'll be a nice homecoming for him. All right, let's get into some keys to the game for a win. I also want to get into some Deebo Samuel stuff at the end. But real fast, keys to the game, and I got 3 of them. How are the Lions going to win this game on Sunday? First and foremost, and I've said it on some other shows. I was on with my buddy Chris Pomay today. I was on with Tim Benz in Pittsburgh. I think the Lions are going to have to dig into their bag of tricks. And I think a couple of trick plays will make a difference in this game for the Lions. I think they'll fake a punt or a field goal, something like that. All right. I see it happening, and it'll be successful, and it'll be a key in the game. Now, it may be unsuccessful, and then it'll cost them, but I think the Lions are going to go for it. I think they're going to try something like that. I think we'll see a halfback pass or St. Brown throwing the ball, or a lateral to St. Brown. He throws it back to Goff. Something like that. All right. I think that's one key, that the Lions have to execute a couple of these trick plays to keep the Niners off balance. All right. That's number 1. Number 2, the Lions, and Dan Campbell said it, and I'll say it again, the Lions have got to stop the run. Last week, Rachaad White ran way too successfully against the Lions defense. Now, White didn't go for 100 yards, and the Bucs threw the ball a lot. But this week, this is not Rachaad White. This is Trent Williams at left tackle and Christian McCaffrey, and if he's out of the game, Elijah Mitchell, who's got a ton of speed. All right, the Lions have got to stop the run. The Niners are getting chunk plays on the ground. That leads to play action. That leads to the guys backing up a little bit for the Lions, getting ready for the run, not attacking. And Purdy will have time to throw. So I think that is going to be a huge, key to the game as well for the Lions, is stopping the run of San Francisco. I think Detroit has got to do that. And number 3 is turnovers. All right. You go on the road. Remember the last couple of times the Lions went on the road and played on grass? All right. The Bears game, what happened? Goff was a turnover machine. Goff was sacked 4 times in that game. In Baltimore against the Ravens, on grass, on the road, against a good team. Lions got embarrassed. Turnovers were a problem. Fumbles, interceptions, the whole deal. Jared Goff has been fantastic this postseason, and a big reason why is he's held on to the football. No interceptions, no fumbles, no turnovers. Lions won the turnover battle last week 2-0 over the Bucs. They won the game by 8. They've got to hold on to the football. So no turnovers, and I think the Lions will be in good shape. And you got Jack Fox, who can really help you with field position. That will be another key factor, certainly in this game coming up this weekend. All right, I think Deebo Samuel's playing in this game. I think it was 50-50 earlier in the week, but I think Deebo is going to play, and I will explain that coming up next right here on Locked On Lions. It's a Friday edition. Locked On Lions brought to you by the best daily fantasy sports game around and platform that is PrizePicks. It's you against the numbers, all right? Instead of betting thousands or battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you're going to pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in with PrizePicks. All right. It's awesome. It's the most fun I've had, winning up to 25 times my money this football season. PrizePicks is simple. All right. Again, you pick 2 to 6 players. And what's great is it gives you a rooting interest for the game before, like Baltimore and Kansas City. Does Lamar Jackson get a run for more or less than 50 yards on the ground? You can put money on that. Patrick Mahomes, more than 2 touchdowns this weekend? You can put money on that. It's a lot of fun to do. Just 2 to 6 players. That's how it's done. Test your skills on PrizePicks for this weekend. It's the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. It's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Code LockedOnNFL for first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. All right, we're closing in on Sunday's game, 6:30 on Fox. Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson, of course, Aaron Andrews and Tom Rinaldi. Tom Rinaldi had himself in a little trouble with Matt LaFleur last week. Also, of course, on the radio side, if you want to listen to Dan Miller, Lomas Brown, and talking with TJ Lang on 97.1 The Ticket as well. And I think Westwood won this week, and I believe Kevin Harlan will be on the radio call. I think he's working with Kurt Warner, for Sunday's game on national radio, if you want to check out Kevin Harlan on the broadcast. All right, so all week we have heard about Deebo Samuel and his injured right shoulder. Landed on the shoulder after a tackle last weekend, missed the second half of the game against the Packers. I just have a feeling Deebo Samuel is going to play in this game. They had said it was 50-50. Some have said a game time decision. But I think Deebo Samuel wants to be out there because Deebo Samuel in October on Instagram Live was called out by none other than Lions loquacious safety, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, CD Deuce, as some call him. CJGJ basically said, nah, Deebo Samuel is a running back. And basically said, Deebo, you're a running back. You ain't no wide receiver. Deebo responded back then. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson said, I'll see you whatever round of the playoffs. Well, we're now into the NFC Championship game. I'm not saying Deebo Samuel is more motivated to play because of an Instagram Live silly video, but I think that's going to play a factor. I think Deebo wants to be out there and go up against number 2 in the white uniforms. By the way, Lions wearing the all whites this weekend. I think Gardner-Johnson's comments are going to help fuel Deebo a little bit. Look, you play the game on the field. Campbell was asked about it today and said, look, the only thing I'm concerned about is no personal fouls. You know, if Deebo starts yapping at CJ, just don't hit him back in the face. Don't touch him. Don't get a 15-yard flag. If you're Gardner-Johnson, you've got to keep your cool. You want to talk. All right. You want to get an interception like last week and hand it to Baker Mayfield like you did, or hand it to Deebo. Fine. All right. But don't throw the ball at him. Don't hit anybody. Don't get into a shoving match like Dion and Andre Rison back in the day. Keep your composure. A penalty like that could cost you the game. But I think Deebo Samuel, who practiced a little bit on Thursday, he's going to play in this game. I think he's going to give it a go. Now, if he lands on his shoulder one time and it re-separates or re-bruises or whatever, and he's got to come out of the game, he is such a weapon for this Niners team. They're going to line him up in the slot. They're going to line him up in the backfield. They're going to put him in motion and hand him the ball. His speed is a killer. When he's on the field, you got to know where he is. And then it's like, wait a minute, I'm focusing on number 19, but here comes Christian McCaffrey. That's what has made the Niners so explosive all year. It's why Brock Purdy has had really good success, as he was the last pick of the draft and now is quarterbacking a team with the 1 seed going to the NFC Championship game. So keep an eye out on that. I think Deebo Samuel is going to give it a go. I think he's going to play, regardless of how bruised up that shoulder is. And if you're the Lions, you got to know where he is at all times. They're going to run bubble screens for him. They're going to run slants, and the guy can run away from you. He is that special. And remember, the last few weeks, where it was Jefferson, Nakua, CeeDee Lamb, Mike Evans, the Lions have had issues with the other team's best receiver. All right? They've gotten all the way to the NFC Championship game with Cam Sutton and Kindle Vildor. Those guys aren't exactly AP award finalists at their position. All right, everybody. Go Lions. Have fun Sunday. Be safe. Enjoy the game. We'll be back with a post-game pod Sunday evening right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for hanging with us all week. Check out Mike Tirico from Tuesday. Come on, Craig. Check out Craig Reynolds from Wednesday and our crossover yesterday if you missed it.